Welcome to our garden. I'm really excited about it this year. I haven't been able to make a garden tour video yet, but the first thing that I'm really excited about is we come to the arch right here. There's some grapes. This is all new growth last year. This one didn't get pruned very well, obviously, because it's really taking over everything. That side is Concord purple grapes, and this side is green grapes, and that's the same for all the arches. We've got another arch back there, an arch here, and an arch in the front yard, all the same. We only lost one grape plant last year, one of our green ones in the front. We didn't actually lose the roots, so they started growing back this year. So next year, hopefully, we'll get some grapes on that too. Here's some green guys. I'm so excited for these. So excited for these. All right, this is our second year in this garden. We built all this last year. Last year was the year of experimentation. Let's just see what grows. And this year we made improvements, putting up more cattle panels. Last year we just experimented with, that was our original one back there. I had to do some convincing of my husband to put in a cattle panel arch, so we grew pumpkins and cucumbers on it, and this year he was definitely on board with doing more of that. So I guess for the tour we can start on this side. This is a volunteer, I guess you could call it. Last year we grew potatoes, and my daughter picked a tiny one from the harvest that she called her pet potato. And I think her pet potato got buried because we did not plant any potatoes here last year, but I think she put her pet potato in the ground. So that's her pet potato plant. These are sweet potatoes in the rest of this bed. And I was not good about hardening them off. I tried once and then I brought them back inside because the beds weren't quite ready. We were still getting the arch up. So I brought them back inside because I thought they were going to be done sooner, and then they weren't, and then I didn't harden them off again. And I knew that was not the best idea, but it's okay. So we grew these from our own sweet potato slips from last year, so I'm really excited about that. This one seems to be doing okay after the transplant. This one had some shock damage for sure from being just stuck in the ground like that, but looks like it'll be just fine. There's some new growth on it already. This one's okay. I think we had like 12 or 13 of these. That one's okay. This one you can definitely tell the quality of the new growth versus the old growth. This is pretty dull. This one is not looking okay. I'm not sure. It's not completely dead yet. There is a new leaf on it, so that one might still come back, even though it looks really sad right now. Okay. Pretty good. Also pretty good. This one's okay. This one was not okay, and now there's some new growth keeping it around, and same with this one, not okay, but there's some new growth. So I think all of these will live, actually. All of them will live, despite my lack of care. Over here, we've got this was a row of onions. We had to harvest some because they got stressed. Some of them were just in the shadow of this broccoli that we didn't intend to plant here, but did really well. Our neighbor actually has a beautiful garden as well, and she had some broccoli seedlings that she just had some extra ones, and she didn't want or need them, so she gave us 6 seedlings, and we squeezed them all in right here. They really overshadowed the onions that we had growing, though. I didn't even think about that because, of course, at the time they were small. Forget how big broccoli plants get. So we lost quite a few onions in here just because of the lack of sunlight. They're not so great with the shade. And also we had some just start to bolt early, so we pulled those. We've got a few onions already picked. Not super happy with the onion harvest so far because, of course, they weren't very big, but live and learn. Don't put them next to the broccoli in the big shadow of the broccoli. This is a potato that is actually a volunteer. This is where we had potatoes last year, and it looks like we missed quite a few because we have quite a few potato plants growing back. So we haven't taken care of this one. We didn't hill it or anything. It's just growing here. Should probably either pull it out or take care of it, but right now it's just kind of sitting there. More onions. Actually, this is garlic over here. So it's garlic. There's more garlic. And the broccoli, of course. So I'm just walking around the outer edge of our garden. So it should give you a better idea of the shape of our garden. If I were gonna do this again, probably wouldn't have, I call this the spine. They kind of look like giant capital letter E's, but with an extra branch in the middle. And if I were to do it again, I would have just made 4 rows. But I didn't want to do that originally because why not just connect them and get more growing space, right? Which is true, but it does make it more difficult to walk around, and sometimes that leaves pockets of your gardens that are not well kept. So I think I would just keep it the rectangles for next time. But anyway, that's what we have. We do have a compost turning station my husband built. So this is mostly for kitchen scraps and yard scraps and cardboard and paper from the house. So we've got two sections of it. I wouldn't say I'm super great at taking care of the compost, but it is a hope of mine. We had like 8 pumpkin plants growing out of our compost before my husband pulled them. So that was interesting. Okay, so I'm very excited about this whole very excited about this whole section right here. It is celery. Of course, another volunteer potato right here. I'm really excited to get these out of here. But they're not hurting anything right now. It happened to grow. I guess I am getting it out of here because it's not as deeply rooted as I thought it was. So some tiny little potato on there. Not quite ready, but all right. These are some celery, and I grew these from seed. And last year I tried to grow celery from seed, and I drowned them. This year I set up a station for the seedlings. So celery, I should explain what I mean by drown them. They're not sensitive to too much water. What happens is the seedlings are so fragile that when you water them, they fall over, and they're so fragile that they don't stand back up. So you have to water the soil from below and not actually water them from above, which is what I learned last year. So I set up a whole system, poked holes in a bunch of Tupperware, and just kept a tray full of water underneath, and they did just fine. So now they're out here, and look at how big they are. Now they can withstand rainstorms and they don't fall over, so they're definitely not fragile anymore. It's funny though, because we have 2 kinds of celery now. We eat a lot of celery. So I got this green celery last year, and of course it didn't work. So this year I was really determined to get some kind of celery. So I ordered a Chinese white celery. We order most of our seeds from Baker Creek, like a lot of people do. And in the white celery description, it advertised itself as easy to grow. And I was like, well, I need celery that's easy to grow, because apparently I tried it last year and it didn't work. And then with my new system set up this year, I got all of it to grow. So now we just have a lot of celery. So we've got green celery on this side that I keep playing with. And then on this side of the stick, I guess, this is the white celery. So you can obviously tell that it's white celery. So we've never had white celery before. I'm excited for that. So the celery, this is the thing that's exciting me about the celery this year. That looks like somebody stole that from below. We might have some problem with an animal underneath our garden. Yeah, for sure, that's a tunnel. Oh dear. Alright, well, that's good to know, good to know, good to know. Okay, so here's more white celery, more volunteer potatoes. And this is a little tiny pepper plant. Didn't have a lot of need for peppers this year, but this is an Ozark bell pepper, so this is mostly just for fresh eating, snacking, of course. The zucchini, we have 2 zucchinis. This one, little one over there. Little one over there got started late because I wanted to, and I put a couple seeds on both sides of this bed. And then one came up over here, nothing came up over there, so a week or 2 later I planted another one in there. So now we've got 2, just like I wanted. So here's one of our arches. So we just walked around the outside edge of the E. And so this is the top branch. That's the top of our backyard. I guess before I go into there, back here we have our little mini orchard. We just have 8 trees. So we've got a couple apple trees, 2 peach trees, 2 plum trees, and then in the way back we have 2 apricot trees. Peach is the only one putting on fruit this year. They're still new, and we had a late frost that killed a lot of our blooms, but we've got 1 little peach that's still coming in strong. So we may get to enjoy 1 fruit this year off of our trees. Hopefully next year we can have some more. Again, like the rest of the garden, we put these in last year, so they were just little sticks last year. So I'm just happy that they're alive and well. We do have a little bit of fungal disease on our peach tree. That's from a fungus. So we'll try to keep it healthy to have it fight it off. That's about all you can do with this kind of disease, at least according to what we've read. This is our new addition. My husband put a little ring of bricks around it. We're going to pull the grass and maybe get some guilds, or at least something that can thrive in the shade, so we can expand the garden to in-ground as well. So I already did plant some lettuce and spinach in these little rings, but I haven't tended to them to see if they're even coming up or watered them, and it's been really dry here lately, so that was bad on me. So we'll see. Maybe I'll need to put some more seeds in there and actually take care of them. But anyway, back to the garden. So here's the first arch that we built with our cattle panels, and we just used little wooden stakes because they're way cheaper than T-posts, and they may need replacing, but so far everything's holding up really well from last year. So on this side of the arch this year, we've got telephone tall peas. We eat a lot of peas, so I was really hoping this year to make the garden match what we actually eat, whereas last year we just pretty much grew a bunch of random things just to see what would grow and if we could grow anything. So this year the goal is to try to make the garden more specific to our needs. So peas is definitely on the list because we eat a lot of those. So a few healthy pea pods. Hopefully they keep growing and give us some more, because it's not a ton. Peas are susceptible to too much water. So they've actually been doing okay this year. We live in Tennessee and it usually rains a lot, usually about weekly. This year it was doing that for a while, and it probably hasn't had a good rain here for about 3 weeks. So we're struggling a little bit, but the peas are doing okay. But you can see, like, this is what happens. They just rot from below. They start to turn yellow and brown from below, and then it comes up when they get too much water. So that was actually from before it stopped raining. We lost quite a few peas just from the rain. So peas may not be a good long-term thing for our area, but I'm probably always going to keep trying just because we love them. So there's some more healthy looking pods. They haven't grown super tall yet, but I'm hoping, the hope was that they would climb up the whole cattle panel side, so we'll see about that. Potato flowers again. This is the same plant we already saw, but it's just so pretty. Flowers are so pretty on the potatoes. More onions and garlic. This is the big broccoli from our neighbors that you already saw. On this side of the arch, we've got tomatoes growing. This. Oh, right. I forgot that I put these here. These are beans. These are Chinese noodle beans, so they're like the foot-long ones. These are the green ones. We have green ones and we have red ones, but I had to move. Oh, wait, no. These are the purple ones. These are purple pole beans, that's right. So they'll hopefully be purple. There's a marigold. Marigolds are kind of behind, but I didn't start them inside. I just put them right in the ground. So yeah, on this whole side of the arch, we'll have tomatoes, and then the purple pole beans will also climb up. So it'll get pretty big with the tomatoes. I'll force them to climb. We did cages last year and they got way too big for their cages. So just trying to not mess with cages this year and just do the cattle panel arches since we've already got those in. Might as well use them, right? So these will be the purple beans. There's supposed to be purple beans all along here, but obviously they didn't sprout right there, but that's fine. They'll give the tomatoes more room to fan out, branch out. So this is another tomato. Purple bean, purple bean, purple bean, purple bean. Another tomato. This one actually ended up on the other side of the cattle panel already somehow. I need to come out here and pinch some of these suckers off. I really don't. I'm trying to be on top of pruning the tomatoes this year. Make sure that it doesn't become unmanageable. Last year the tomatoes just really took over the bed. I know there's lots of opinions about whether it's actually necessary to prune tomatoes or not. For production, I don't really care because we're not huge tomato eaters. We use them for canning and we always get enough. So for me, it's just about management of the branches themselves and making sure that it doesn't get too unruly, because it really... We had them over there last year and they got so big that it took over both walkways on both sides, even with the cages. So really I'm just trying to prevent the great tomato takeover like we had last year. So I'll come back out a different time and get all these little suckers out. Like this one's getting pretty bad. The sucker in here, we don't need that. It would probably produce some fruit, but just because it would doesn't mean that we need it to. This little guy down here, we don't want things close to the ground either, where it could just get moldy. Yeah, so there's quite a few in here I could prune. I'll have to come out and focus on what I'm doing and actually look and see which ones I want to keep and which ones I don't. And this one I don't. Just pull those off, but I mean, if you could put a video of the smell. If you grow tomatoes, you know that smell after you touch a tomato plant. Man, so strong. Another purple bean. And on this side of the arch, this is the broccoli that we grew from seed, but once again, sorry, this is not broccoli, this is cauliflower. But we put our broccoli and our cauliflower out here at the same time. I just sowed them directly out here. I think next year I either need to do that earlier or start them inside and then bring them out, because the broccoli starts from our neighbor and the seeds that we planted went in at about the same time, and obviously there's going to be a big difference. So we already harvested 8 pounds of broccoli off of the plants that our neighbor gave us. We haven't harvested anything out of the stuff that we planted directly. I felt like I did that earlier than last year, but it's still not early enough because now it's starting to get hot. These plants don't do well in the heat. But I keep checking in the middle to see if it's going to flower, and I still don't see anything. So this is purple of Sicily cauliflower. My little daughter's obsessed with anything pink or purple, so anything pink or purple that we could grow in the garden basically is what we're doing this year. So there's still no cauliflowers, but I keep checking and hoping. My neighbor showed me a trick to make sure that the cauliflower doesn't get little brown spots. Look at this. How fun is this? Little waxy leaves makes this fun to play with. So fun. Leave that for a little pollinator to drink on. Still no flowers. And then over here is our broccoli. This is sad. I think I don't know if that's just doing not so great. Well, it's not doing great, but I know somebody else in my family knocked it over, if it did that on its own. No broccoli flowers from our own stuff, so they're still sending down tap roots, and so I think these are gonna burn up and be sad by the time we actually get to them, for sure. So again, this is the broccoli from our neighbor. We already harvested the main heads out of all of these, but they've got some secondary flowers coming up that we could use for fresh eating. I've already blanched and frozen all the other ones, so we've got 8 pounds of broccoli in our freezer right now, but we could come out here and definitely get that for dinner. You can still have a second round of it. This one we're obviously letting go a little long. I didn't get out here to do it for dinner, so now the flowers are starting to open and it starts to get pretty bitter at this point, but this other one is still good, so I might come out for dinner tonight and do that. My friend just had a baby, so maybe she'll get some at her house today. I'll pick that for her. All right, and this other one, this is their bed right here. We're not huge leek people, but we always like the idea of leeks. There's a good leek potato soup recipe that I like, of course, so I think I planted about 8 leeks. Looks like 2 of them are doing, 3 of them? 3 of them are doing okay. There's one little guy right here. This one's obviously the best. And there's another one over there. And there's actually one that's still alive right there. Leeks are pretty hardy, so if they're alive at all, they'll probably come back. Unless something eats it from below, which is apparently a problem we're about to be facing right now. So those are some leeks. We don't have a ton, but we don't eat a ton, so that works out for us. This whole bed is corn. I'm a little sad about this empty patch right in the middle here. I'm not sure why those didn't come up right there. But we eat a lot of corn, and so we have a lot of corn in the garden. This is actually round 3 of our succession planting of corn. So this will be ready the latest, and it's not super big right now, but in a minute I'll show you the bigger corn. We planted about 1 bed's worth like this of corn last year, but then I tried to succession plant it, so it was like 3 sections, but of this size, and that was just not good for pollination. There wasn't enough, and this isn't good for pollination either, this hole right here, so we'll definitely have to come out here and hand pollinate this area right here. But it is corn. I'm doing orchard baby corn this year. We tried Amish buttercorn last year. We just wanted to try something different to see if it would work out well. This looks like a volunteer zinnia from last year. I'll let that go. So that'll be nice. I love zinnias. So the last arch on this side, we've just got 2 arches on each side. So on this side of the arch, we're doing, well, the corn is in there too, but up the arch, we're hoping to grow some pumpkins. Orange luxury pie pumpkins, and I make pumpkin bread with that. That's kind of our big use of pumpkin around here. And then on this side we've got more beans, and these are the noodle ones. These are the long ones that I was talking about, but these are green. The other ones are purple, and they're just like the regular small sized beans. This is interesting. I planted them all the way down, but none of them came up right here. That's okay. Still plenty of space, but they're doing all right. This is our first time growing beans, so I'm pretty unfamiliar with them. I set them up so that they could climb up, and I'm not sure if I'm going to have to tie them up or if they're going to grab. It doesn't really look like they have any tendrils to grab like peas do. So, and then the lack of water is not doing these guys any favors. So I'm really hoping that it rains soon, because it's really a pain to water this whole garden. We don't have a good hose. It's just a view of our house. We've got some rain barrels, but they've been empty for a while. So even the rain barrels aren't helping us out when we use up all the rain. So we just need some more rain and or a good hose, I suppose, and then we're paying for water. We may have to do that, because otherwise we'll lose our food. So, like I said, on this side we had some pumpkin, and so this was a pumpkin, and now I haven't been out here in too long, obviously, so this pumpkin dried up, didn't get quite enough water right away. This one is still doing okay. We don't need a ton of pumpkins, so even just one plant would honestly probably take over the whole side when it gets big enough. They grow like crazy. So if any of them were gonna survive, I'm glad it's the one in the middle, because we can put those vines all over. So we'll see how that goes this year with just the one. Maybe we'll just do that on purpose next year. Last year we had a great pumpkin takeover on this side too. We had maybe 4 plants, I think. Oh man, it was so much. It was so much. We had so many pumpkins. Didn't need that much pumpkins. So 1 plant this year might be perfect, actually. All right, well, here on the other half of the garden, so it's symmetrical. So this is the other E, even though this is the backwards E. This is more like a 3, but anyway. So this first bed was an experiment this year. I was trying really hard to use the same space for multiple things, and I think I did a dumb thing, because as I said before, peas don't like to be overwatered. Corn likes a lot of water, but I decided to put peas and corn together thinking, well, the peas are kind of an early plant, and so by the time they die out, then the corn will take over, which may still be true, except the peas are still going strong, and the corn is starting to grow really tall and really overshadow the peas. And apparently the corn isn't lacking for water, so I guess that's good, but our peas are struggling and they're lost in there, and so I don't know that they're harming each other, except for in this case, maybe this pea is getting harmed by the corn shadowing it out, but so I wouldn't do this again next year. So this is an experiment, live and learn, but these have a lot of flowers on it, these peas, and they've already got some pods going, so that's nice. Well, these are regular peas, supposed to be a bush variety, still growing taller than the pole variety over there that we already saw. So this was our first round of corn right here. I'll back up. And so it takes up 4 of these slots in the garden, I guess, for 1 seed packet. So there's about 80 plants in there. At least that's what I planted. Maybe a couple of them didn't come up, but this first round, a lot of them came up. I think we might have missed 1 or 2 of seeds that I planted that didn't sprout. So this first round of corn, I'm really, really excited about and really hopeful for, despite it crowding out all the peas, but that was my own bad idea. So we've got that, and also actually we've got watermelon in there as well. I'll show you that. So this is the first round of corn, and then over here 1, 2, and then around on the other side 3, 4 is another plot of corn. I did not intend when I drew up the garden plans for the corn to wrap around so much, because this is all encroaching on carrots. But we really like corn, so when I realized we're gonna need more space for corn than I thought we were, I wasn't actually even intending to put corn on the other side. I was just really not thinking about how much space we were gonna need for corn, buying 3 seed packets of corn. But that's what we wanted to do, so that was an adjustment to the garden plan once everything was already planted. So again, I wouldn't plan to do it that way again. This corn is definitely crowding out, probably killing the carrots that were underneath that at some point. But the corn's doing really well, you know, and our carrots really aren't. So maybe I'll just come around this way and we'll do the same thing, go around the edge first. So again, here's our corn. Somewhere in there used to be some carrots. There's still some carrots in there. They're tiny. I don't know how to grow carrots, apparently. There's really not a lot growing here. I know these are really close together, but I didn't have the heart to pull any of them because hardly any of them came up, clearly. This bed is doing better. I still didn't thin any of them because I'm just going to let them grow. If they're wrapped around each other, I don't even care. I just want to get some harvest out of it. So again, everything's pink or purple, right? So this whole bed of carrots right here, this 2 blocks or so, are purple carrots. And these are supposed to be orange carrots, like regular old orange carrots. Those actually went all the way down here into the corn, like I said. But really, not a lot of them came up. It's kind of the joke right now. Whenever my husband wants to poke fun at me, he just mentions the carrots, because I put a whole round of carrots in, and I think I just buried them too deep. Like I made little trenches with my finger and then kind of covered them up, and I think that was just burying them too deep because the carrot seeds are so small. So I really wanted carrots, so I came out again a couple weeks later when I was disappointed about the growth, and I used the seed packets that I was intending to save for fall to just give the spring another chance. And I just surface sowed them, and I watered them in really good, and still, this is all we're getting of the orange carrots. The purple ones were fine, and I didn't have an extra seed packet for fall for the purple ones. Those were just for the oranges. So the purple, this is the first round. This is the original seeding, the original sowing right here. So the purple ones are doing okay. Like I said, I didn't thin anything because I'm just excited to have carrots, even if they don't look pretty underneath and they're not all nice and straight. But the orange ones are so disappointing. But this is still weird for me to see this side of the garden at all, because last year this is where we had watermelons, and that's perhaps a story for another time, is the watermelon story of 2022. I'm not used to seeing this side of the garden because the watermelons took over everything, and even this part of our yard, you can see that the grass is still really patchy because it just took over everything. We're from up north, where watermelons don't typically grow very well. And so I didn't have a lot of hopes for the watermelon, and then I was wrong. So I planted way more than we needed, but again, there's more details to the story we can save for another time. So there's our carrots, purple and orange. Over here we've got our potatoes. Some of our potatoes came up way faster than the others, so these were actually already dying back. They were not very big. We did not take care of our potatoes very well. We didn't hill them. We didn't make sure they were getting a ton of water when it started to dry up. So I'm not expecting a great potato harvest this year, because that's what happens when you don't take care of your garden. But we'll take the little ones that we've got, and hopefully they'll start to sprout, and we'll put them back in for the fall, and we'll take care of them much better. So hopefully we can get at least one harvest out of our potatoes. That's the hope. Or maybe we'll just start again in the fall with new seed potatoes. I'm not sure to make a decision about that. But we've still got some that are not quite died back yet, and they probably need some watering. But we're in a stage of life where we just don't have a ton of time for watering, so I'm just hoping for rain. This little section is a little memorial garden section. So it's just flowers. And some of them are starting to come up. I put sunflowers in here, and zinnias, I believe. Gaillardias, that's what that is. There's a Gaillardia coming up right there. This is a weed. So we'll see what flowers come up. I put a ton of seeds there. This is an interesting branch because it's not going according to plan at all. So this first half right here was salad stuff. So lettuce, spinach. We got one spinach plant, and I think we ate 2 leaves off of it before it died back. We did get some butter crunch lettuce. One of them died back. This one's still strong. And I'm just pulling leaves off of the outside of them instead of pulling the whole head up, because then they last longer, obviously. But I put those in really early in the spring before we put our cattle panel arches in, and so that was mostly just to get something out of the garden while I was waiting for my husband's schedule to align to put the arches together. And I was like, well, I have this garden space, let's use it for something. But it wasn't really the plan to put that here. Oh, this is Little Gem romaine lettuce. It looks like spinach, or it did for a while, but now it's starting to look actually like romaine lettuce. So And it's yummy. We've eaten off of that already. I came out and I harvested a ton of lettuce the other day because it was like 90, 95 degrees. I was really nervous that all my lettuce plants were gonna die. So I at least brought in a bunch so we would have salad for a few weeks. But it looks like they're doing okay now. So I gave some to a friend and now we're still growing more, so that's fine. This is my kids' favorite section of the garden. Again, I didn't even put this in my garden plan though, but they love snap peas. So I think I just need to make sure that I keep, there's a lot of gnats over here. I don't even know if that's coming up on the camera besides me swinging at them. But kids love snap peas. So here's a ton ready to eat right here actually. So maybe we can come out and get some snap peas for lunch, but they love snap peas. We did not have this many snap peas last year because we had a really wet early summer and it killed all the snap peas with too much water. And so actually the peas are loving this little 3-week stint that we've had of no water. So they're doing really, really well. Love the snap peas. So sweet. And so you can see like the organization of it. I just put these little cheap like garden fences up for them to climb on. And I put these in again before I put the cattle panels up. So some of them got smushed in the cattle panel installation, but what are you gonna do? So we'll grow another fall crop and have it be a little more organized. Maybe I'll plant them up a cattle panel so they actually have something better to climb on. This is a sad, empty bed again for carrots. There's so much space in this garden devoted to carrots, and so few carrots are going to come up from it. I was so excited about these two. These are the Parisian or Parisian carrots. So we've got a few of them. And so the Parisian carrots are, train. We live in a small town and the train goes right through town. So the Parisian carrots are, if you could cross a radish and a carrot, that's what it looks like. So it's supposed to taste like a carrot. It's orange like a carrot, but it has the shape of a radish. So we've been calling them ball carrots. So I've been excited for the ball carrots, but we probably have like 15 plants growing in there for the whole bed. And I planted two, again, this was one that I had 2 seed packets for, and I was saving one for fall, and I tried another round of it and it still didn't work. So I don't know if I need to do more research on carrots. I think they just need more water than we've been getting, and I think next year, we are going to do carrots. We have to make carrots grow because we eat so many carrots. I buy pounds of carrots all the time. And so when we grow carrots again next year, I just need to know when the carrots go in, we need to be on top of watering, because I think that was the problem. I think right around the time that it stopped raining consistently around here is when the seedlings really started to come up, and there might have been some more than there are now. That was just a busy time of life for us anyways. My husband had finals. He's in a PhD program, and I was extra busy with work and my own internship for grad school. So we just didn't get out to water by hand. And again, we don't have a hose, so it takes a long time to just run back and forth to the rain barrels or to the house with a watering can. So we don't have an efficient watering system right here. We just really rely on the rain right now, which I know is not super great for sustainability, but you know, I'm gonna give myself a break because none of this was here last year at all whatsoever. It was just all grass. So if we don't have every system set up, that's okay. And if we're just depending on rain, in my mind, that's all right. But apparently, if we're gonna do carrots, we need to baby them a little more than we have and not just rely on the rain. I guess that'll be fine. All right, so we're back to where we started with the corn over here. So on this cattle, oh sorry, I didn't even think over here. Yeah, I talked about the peas growing and the lettuce stuff. I forgot about this whole arch though. the first arch over here, we have tomatoes, more tomatoes. So we've got 8 tomato plants, 4 over there, 4 over here. I forget which is which, but one of them has Amish paste and one of them is tappies. So one is like aroma-like, and one is a bigger one. So I forget which is on which, but when they start to fruit, it will become obvious. So I'm not too worried about it. Didn't really label the garden this year because I've got it all written down inside. So I never remember what's out here as I'm looking at it, but don't really need to. Take care of some of these suckers as I'm out here. These tomato plants were so little when I put them out. They're still pretty little, but they're doing just fine. There's another one among the snap peas. And there is a tomato plant in here as well among the snap peas. There he is. There he is. That one's actually getting a little leggy because he's getting shadowed out by the snap peas, but he'll survive. It'll be okay. So those are our 4 tomatoes on this side. These snap peas are definitely ready for eating. So the girls and I will be out for lunch today. We will come back. This is a zinnia volunteer. We had zinnias last year in this part. So I'm excited for that. Lots of weeds, but I'll worry about that later. And this is my other disappointment. On this side, we had so many cucumbers last year. I got sick of it, and I was pregnant, and I hate cucumbers when I'm pregnant, and it was a whole mess. And we have so many pickles, and we gave away pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds, bushels of cucumbers, seemed like, because we planted 6 cucumber plants, and then our neighbor again had too many seedlings, so she gave us some, and we had so much cucumbers, so many cucumbers. I was sick of it. This year I was like, we're having 4 cucumber plants of our own little muncher cucumbers, and we're not taking any from her. We're just gonna maintain the cucumbers so they don't take over. And no, none of them came up. And I know they were old seeds from last year, but I was like, I was willing, like the pumpkins, to just have 1 or 2 and they would spread out and take over. Yeah, and so now we have none. So this looks like a weed. Yep, that's a weed. That's not a cucumber. So I'm gonna have to come out and sow some more cucumber seeds, and then we're gonna get cucumbers really late. But I'm gonna do that today, and we'll at least get something. At least get something. All right, back over here to the corn. And this is our last little section of the vegetable garden. We've got a whole cottage garden up front, which is mainly flowers and raspberries and blueberries, but we'll show that a different time. But over here, this last arch, we've got our last row of beans on this side. These are red beans, and they don't take over the whole arch, just about 2/3 of it. So these are red Chinese noodle beans, so they'll be about 1 foot long. My daughter's so excited about them. Again, I don't think that they're loving the lack of rain, but they're still here. You know, they're still doing well. So they're all right. This is a pumpkin experiment. Last year for Halloween, we have small children, 3 kids under 5. And so I don't like the idea of carving pumpkins with knives. And I don't like the smell of carving pumpkins anyway. So we bought some white pumpkins from the store, just little decorative white pumpkins. And we painted pumpkins last year. And I really liked it, and the kids did too. So I saved some of those seeds. I ended up baking the white ones to see if it would work just as well in the pumpkin recipe that I had for pumpkin bread. And it did. The color was different, not as orangey, obviously, but the taste is still good. So I figured, why not try to grow some of our own white pumpkins? And then we could paint them for Halloween, we could have them for decorations, and we could also bake them just like we do the other pumpkins. So, but you know, that's always an experiment when you get stuff from the store, because you don't actually know what kind they are. So I don't know if those were some weird hybrids and we're gonna get like green stripy, orange stripe. I don't know what these are gonna look like, but clearly it's a pumpkin plant and there's 2 of them growing. So we'll see what kind of fruit it bears. It may not be white at all like I was hoping for if it was a hybrid. So this will be the second generation of a hybrid, which may be completely different than the stuff that I bought. So, but I'm excited for the experiment anyway. If it's a pumpkin, we will eat it in the pumpkin bread regardless, or I'll make some pie and it'll be fine. So that's fun. And these are doing way better than the orange ones that I planted anyway. So we'll see about that. So these don't vine really well by themselves, but they will with some help. I'll weave them in and out of the cattle panel. That worked out just fine last year, and it was so fun to see them up here hanging down. Pumpkins just hanging down on the cattle panel. The cucumbers were fun for that too. So this year I'm hoping for the noodle beans hanging down. It'll be so pretty. So pretty. The red beans hanging from above. So on this side, I think the last thing that we haven't actually seen that I mentioned was watermelon. And this year we're growing some orange watermelon. And here's that watermelon plant. See, it's doing okay in there. It's hidden in all the corn, but it's doing all right. So there's one. I think we've got planted 8, and I think we're getting about 6, and that's totally fine. Here's another one. Watermelon. Orange watermelon. I haven't actually ever had orange watermelon, but it's supposed to be very sweet. There's a guy at our church who's from Louisiana who was like, y'all need to grow yellow watermelons. And we were looking at the yellow ones and we decided the orange ones looked cool too. So there's at least another one. So I know we've got 3 good ones, and I think there's a couple more hidden in the corn back there. Like I said, once the peas will start to die out. And this corn is the first round of corn to be done for the season. And this is a quick corn variety. So these should be ready in a couple weeks. Some of them are already starting to tassel a bit. So once these are done, technically we could pull them out. Wouldn't need to do that they'll just also die back. And then that'll give the light in for the watermelon to get some light too. And the peas will die back because of the heat and the rain, hopefully, if we get more rain. So hopefully we'll get our pea harvest, and then those will be done, and we'll get our corn harvest, and then the stalks will be done, and we can take those and shred them up and put them back in the garden with compost, and then the watermelon will have all the light that it needs to just take over this whole area. So yeah, so that's our garden progress so far. I'm hoping to do more garden tour videos, mostly for myself, just so that I remember what we're doing, remember the progress that the garden's making this year in 2023. This one is a little longer just because I'm explaining what's where, but if you're interested, come back and check out future videos, and we'll just see the progress of the garden, and it'll be a good record for me as well, just to see what's back here, what's going on, and how things are growing. But already we're eating off of, like I said, the lettuce, the snap peas. We harvested a round of broccoli for the freezer already, which will be good for us for the year because we don't eat a ton. And a lot of other things are starting to come up, and I'm excited what the rest of the year will bring. So thank you for joining me on the garden tour. We'll see you next time.